I'm going to say let's do 10 laps and then stop. So like another 7 or something.
We'll see.
That's what it took me to get comfortable.
I don't have a breaking point for some of these. Like that one. No.
Finding a lot of time still, like 2 seconds per lap or something, so this is good.
Uh-oh. Nope.
It's nice that there's a little grassy escape route there, at least.
Yeah. That was too much on that.
Okay, it's nice on the curbs in that final corner. I think where we're going to find most of our time is mid-corner speed in the chicanes.
Okay.
But we'll see it in the data really clearly. Your technique through turn 1 and 2 is exactly, well, apart from the grassy bit there, aside from that, what you were trying to do is the same. You know, go in deep into turn 1 and then hug the inside of turn 2. You just let it run a little bit wider than I would, that's all.
I haven't quite figured out my
Yeah, you basically just started to open the steering too soon. That was all. Just watching that back.
And the braking point on that turn 1, I don't see a sign there, so I'm looking for something on the pavement, and I haven't quite found it yet.
I'm just watching where you brake. Yeah, I'm always terrible for braking markers because I don't have any braking markers. I just do it when it feels right. And but I can tell you exactly where I'm doing it. And I'll give you a marker. Okay, it'll be easier to show you after the session, but
Yeah.
on the right hand side as you approach turn 1, there's several like asphalt roads that attach to the side of the track.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for, but they look the same, and so
I'm
I've
doing it on the
braked
third
them.
one. The
On the
third
third
one,
one.
the third one is a
Okay.
really fat one. So there's like 6, and the third one is really fat. That's the one I'm using. So I'm watching you in real time, obviously like about 1 second delayed. But on the right coming up, you've got 6, and it's the third one. So it's 1, 2, 3.
Nope, that was the wrong one.
I think it looked like the right one from where I was
Did it?
watching. But I don't have your brake trace, obviously, but... Just do a couple more and then have a rest.
Okay. Too deep.
That was a nice line through there. You really maximised both curbs.
Oh. No. I snapped it back around.
So I think we're probably going to find quite a lot of time in that hairpin. But we'll check the
Yeah.
data. After this, when you finish this lap, just park up somewhere
Okay.
and we'll have a check through. We'll do some, we'll find some shortcuts. But you're getting quicker and quicker all the time.
That wasn't so good.
Yeah, it felt a little bit cautious that time. Okay, still quickest lap though. So you're still getting quicker and quicker. The gains are becoming less, but okay, let's take a look at that data. Let me grab that up for the moment.
How have you been?
Yeah, good. How about you?
Not too bad.
Just busy. Lots and
Yeah.
lots of travelling around to different kart tracks. Why did I just grab my own? I've already got my own. I'm an idiot. Here we go. Right, so there we go. Right, so my prediction before we look at this is the biggest time is going to be carrying speed through the chicanes, like treating them as faster than they look, and therefore carrying a bit more entry speed, having a bit more downforce, and actually the car working better, provided you're very, very accurate. And I think the hairpin we're going to want to brake straighter for longer and get more speed scrubbed off in the straight part of the braking, so when you come to pivot, it doesn't kind of go too deep into the corner and run out of room. But let's see whether that is accurate. I need to swap these colours around, otherwise I'll get straight away confused.
I had a horrible week at Interlagos. Whoa.
Okay.
I was fast. I was fast. I got literally creamed every time I raced.
Okay.
Like
Just
3
wiped
times.
out.
Wiped out 3 times at the very start before I even got to the first corner.
Yeah.
Like
Okay,
I was
sucks.
the one time I was in first, I actually qualified in pole, and it was the one day I had a bad start.
Okay.
I had a bad start, and then I got creamed before turn 1. 2 other times, a guy in front of me lost control of his car, and I had no way to avoid it. Went into him. Same thing happened another day. It was like ridiculous. I lost a full safety point.
Oh man, that sucks. Sorry about that. Hopefully this one will be better. At least you've got more time to practice for this one because it's like a week away. But okay, let's just go through it corner by corner. There's not that many corners. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 6 places to focus on, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So turn 1 is kind of what I thought when I watched you. You're letting it run wide a lot earlier than I am. So although our speed trace looks quite similar through this section, like, yeah, you are going in slightly slower, but what you're trying to do is similar. It's just that at this point here, you're going, okay, this is my exit point, and I'm staying tighter, doing a shorter distance. But then when I get on the gas, I've got straighter wheels, effectively. You can see on the steering trace here, my steering angle is less at the point I get on the gas. So like there, I'm to full power much earlier, and I've taken a shorter distance. So just staying off throttle for a little bit here. In fact, you're off throttle the same as me, actually, interestingly. So I guess it must just be that you're letting it run wide, because we're doing like, oh, you're doing slightly higher speed here, but yeah, by the time we get here, we're like the same. So it shouldn't be that you're being pushed wide by extra speed, because we're doing like the same speed. And you're just as cautious getting back on the gas as me. So I think it's just allowing it. Maybe it's this bit.
Did I have
here.
less steering angle there?
Yeah, just here you've got less, so it begins to run wide there, doesn't it? And that's where I'm keeping a bit more on. So okay, so it's these two things, isn't it? I have a lower minimum speed just here, and more steering angle, so I'm just stopping it a little bit more there. Let's just look at that, just so you've seen it.
I'm only 4 seconds off you.
I think you're going to find a lot of those right now. Okay, so the first thing is that, like trying to use a bit more curb there.
Yeah.
So I'm climbing on that curb, but then really stopping it here. I'm like just very, very focused on staying tight to the curb until it's nearly finished. Like I do start to go wide before the curb ends, but only like right at the end, just here. And I think you're like way back here somewhere when you start to go. So that's maybe a focus, just getting it stopped more, and then it'll rotate more. But this is one of the smaller areas. So let's go to some of the more low-hanging fruit. And it's going to be apex speed of the first chicane, apex speed of that second, well, I guess this is second chicane, isn't it? But of the third chicane, and the final corner. There, I think where we're going to have these steps where we're losing a chunk of time. But let's look at this one. It's going to be as straightforward as just not slowing it down as much. And unfortunately, that's how it felt riding on board. And that means it's going to be sketchy as hell, because you've got to thread the needle at a high speed. That's simply that. Like, the car seems to work better the quicker I send it in, because I've just got that little bit more downforce. Obviously, every kilometre an hour you're bleeding off more than me, you've effectively got less potential grip at that point. So it sounds counterintuitive, but as long as you get the line right, I'm not even really trailing the brakes much. You know, you're staying on the brakes longer to try and trail in, but I'm going in really committing to the curb, you know, much more curb there. And so I'm tighter on both parts of the first chicane and carrying more speed. And earlier back to full throttle. So in the middle, it's like full throttle, half lift, full throttle. So I am
Gear?
Sorry,
What
same
gear
gear
are
as you, third gear, so same as you, but just with more speed. And I am doing this lift here, but you know, I'm just getting to more throttle in the middle. So that's it. It's going to be take a deep breath, thread the needle. That's it. Because you're braking, you know, the pressure you're applying is good. I think you're just staying on a little long. But then let's have a look at the second chicane. Okay, so we're going in very, very similarly. And our brake shape is very, very similar as normal. Okay, I get it stopped a little bit more just there. So turning in a fraction later, using a bit of curb, and a teeny bit more of a minimum speed here, but then you obviously go deep and have a secondary minimum speed. So that's why. I don't think you meant to do that. I think you just went a bit wide. Next chicane, I think it's going to be the same as chicane 1. So yeah, I'm braking a bit later, a bit harder, but not as much of a trail, which is unusual. But it's because I can get off and start to pick the throttle back up as long as you thread the needle correctly. And again, a little bit tighter to the first curb, a little bit tighter to the second curb there. I'll show you what it looks like on the onboard in a minute. But again, it's just, say you're in the right gear, it's just carrying the speed and using the downforce. The hairpin, this is where I think we're slightly different. So you're definitely braking more gently into the hairpin. I found time by braking really straight and then getting it pivoted in quite a short period. So when we look at the line overlay, this is what it felt like riding on board. It felt like you were sending it in a little bit early and you were still having to continue slowing down before you did your main turn, obviously offset a bit. Whereas I'm getting it stopped more heavily, pivoting here, and then I've got like a straighter exit. And then that gives me that nice little kind of improvement on the exit there.
What gear are you down to? Are you down to first?
Same as you, yeah, down to first. But it's that kind of later, straighter braking. Final chicane, almost the same as the first chicane. Just later braking, shorter amount of braking, but harder, and carrying mid-corner speed. This is quite a simple set of things we need to change, but not simple to actually implement, obviously, because it requires loads of accuracy and confidence in what the car's going to do. But I found, that's why I said 10 laps, because normally we do probably fewer than that, but you kind of need to, it's like Monaco. You need to like build up more, like quicker and quicker and quicker every lap, whilst not obviously overheating the tyres, because the speed through those chicanes is tricky. But having said all that, you know, I didn't really muck up very often. I screwed up on this lap here. I think that was going deep at chicane 2. So trying not to be too brave in that corner on the braking point. But the others, it really was relatively easy to kind of keep chipping away. So I'll just show you what it looks like on board through those fast chicanes.
And
obviously,
your chicanes all in third gear?
Good question. Let's check. Number 1, third. Number 2, second, same as you. Number 3, third. And number 4, third. Yeah, so it's third, except for that second one, which is like a tighter. It's more of like a kind of hairpin, which turns into a chicane halfway around. In terms of line, yeah, we've already said just a little bit more curb in the first one. Same with the second one, like slower earlier and tighter on that curb. A little bit more on that one as well. I think you're going a longer distance than you need to between chicane 2 and 3. See how you're kind of going around the edge? I'm just driving straight and straight to the turning point.
It's because I don't know the track.
Yeah. So you'll be more accurate. Same with this one here. Like into the hairpin, you can just stay left, and then like down the long straight, you can kind of take the line of least resistance, which happens to be on the right hand side, because then you just go straight to the left when the track kinks just here. But yeah, you'll just get used to those. And I think with the start, a little bit on the start straight too. You're like opening up turn 1 effectively, but you just don't need to. Let's show you on board. Here we go. Right, okay. I know this would be much easier if you had sound, but I'm just going to show you without the sound anyway. I'll leave this on so you can see the braking, and we'll do slow-mo if we need to. So really, really tight through turn 1. I do get out to this curb. I just arrived there later. Right, here's what it looks like in chicane 1. Heavy braking. So, interestingly, normally we do a lot of brake trailing, but here, it's like slow it down, get it turned, there is some trailing, and then off, just before the apex, back on the power in a straight line between the two, half throttle into the second one, and back on the power again, because the downforce is quite high still, and then you can just about make it. Second one, getting it stopped, but quite a late turn in because it's a tight corner. and that then gives you like the space to carry speed into this one. Obviously then just like letting it run wide, but from here I'm taking like the straightest line possible to the inside, just to go shorter distance. It's worth like maybe a tenth, but then from here I'm going straight to the turning point over here, and again like loads of curb. The curb is really key because they're quite narrow, and it doesn't really harm you if you butt up against these kind of white sausage curbs. They don't bounce you as much as you'd expect. You know, I'm like scrubbing against them as like a buffer. So I'm not being afraid to clip them. It doesn't really hurt you very much. Right, then hairpin. Hard braking in a straight line. So I'm going straighter for longer. I'm not being tempted to turn in because I know I'm going to do a big pivot all at once quite early and then drive straight out. So then it rotates really nicely. Then back on the gas. And then final chicane. It's the same as the others. Heavy braking. Off the brakes over the curb. And just being super brave with it. But obviously this is after a few laps. And again with the curb, I'm butting up against the white bit. It doesn't bounce me off. It's absolutely fine. White bit. But not trying to drive on the top of it, just using the edge. And then that kind of gives you half a tyre width, extra space, and gives you the mental buffer that I can carry a bit more speed in here because I'm just buying myself this extra little bit of room here. And then it kind of just glides through nicely. See, it doesn't unsettle the car at all. There we go. That's it. As
Easy.
I always say, just do that.
Just do that, yeah.
But I think I think there's quite a lot of easy time when you're confident to just carry the speed through those chicanes. You've still got to be accurate. You've still got to scrub off enough speed that it turns. But I think you'll see the delta go green massively when you just like let it flow, just like release the brake and go and start to pick up the throttle. It's got more grip than you think once the tyres are warm through there.
Okay.
So let's go give it a try.
All right. So on this lap, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind just helping me understand what we just talked about
Yeah, no problem.
on my out lap.
So obviously we're not doing the first couple of turn complex, but you'd be staying tight at this point here. So next one, we get it down to third gear, use a bunch of curb, and carry loads of speed. Obviously you don't have an option of carrying loads of speed on your out lap, but don't even be afraid to climb on the grass on the left through that one. So this one we're going to go straighter for a bit longer, slightly later turn in than that, so you don't end up over here, and get more, a bit like the hairpin, we get more speed scrubbed off in a straight line, which gives you the freedom to brake harder, basically, because you're going straight. This next one, obviously we want to be on the left. That's all right, fine. Yeah, that one is very easy to go straight on if you're not quite on the right line.
And I forgot where I was.
Okay, so hairpin, we're going to brake harder than you were before and in a straight line, so we kind of get it pivoted early in the corner so you can drive straighter off of it. You still have to be super smooth on the gas. Then here, just go kind of on the right. Stay on the right-hand side because that's the shortest line. And then when the track kinks, then you can just kind of go straight to the left in a nice gentle flow. Final corner, it was just a case of using lots of curb and carrying as much speed as you can. And obviously picking up the throttle as early as you can get away with. You kind of want the rear to start squirming on throttle. So we're going to stay tighter here for longer. So quite a lot tighter than that, but obviously with warm tyres it's easier. It's more about the speed you're doing when you're just approaching the apex of turn 2. So when you're just about to go to the right in that tight second corner, it's that slow speed that helps. And just as a guide for the kind of extra speed we're looking through those chicanes, first chicane, we need 30 kilometers an hour more.
Whoa.
Third chicane, it's 20. And final chicane, it's 25. So that's
Wow.
the difference we're looking at compared to what you're doing before in terms of minimum speed. Nice. Good start, and that's on pretty cold tyres still, so just keep building on that.
Oh, I did it again.
Yeah, it wants to be, yeah, a bit more of a stop for that right-hander. A little bit more of like an extra brake.
Way too slow.
Yeah, so we'll just send that in faster. Think of the extra downforce you've got with the extra speed. But this one not. I still think we want to turn in quite a bit later for that second chicane there. Nice. Okay, that was a good effort. That was a good start. You almost didn't trust that you had the space to run out onto the second curb, but I think you did. Just a tiny bit late on the brakes. Yeah, that's third chicane you just did a moment ago. I'm just watching it back now. The entry was great. You just kept the steering angle tight to the right. You were like, shit! But actually you were fine. You were absolutely fine. You could have unwound the steering. So a little bit more, yeah, a little bit more mid-corner will prevent you from being as hard on the gas over that second curb. Because you overslowed it, you were accelerating harder as you bounced on that second one. And in fact, you used more of that second curb than you normally would because you went in slow. It'd normally be harder to achieve that. So get it stopped for this right. It almost feels like you're crawling, but then you'll just see, if you get it right, loads of green on the delta. So still quite a bit more speed into that first chicane. And a later turn in for this one. Yeah, that's more like it. And that just gives you a much easier run through here. So that's the kind of line you want to be on. Just maximise the speed you can carry on that line.
I think where I am. Too late. Touch, or either that or not hard enough.
Yeah, maybe not hard enough. I'm just going to watch it back. I don't think you were too late. I think it was the peak pressure wasn't quite hard enough. Yeah, that's good. So entry speed was good. Just get off the brakes sooner. It was like you trailed them in and you scrubbed off a bit more than you needed to, but the entry was fine. So a bit quicker through this chicane than before. And don't be afraid to use the red curb on the right-hand side. And a touch of grass on the left-hand side if you need it. Yeah, your line into here is better than before now. Much better. Little bit too quick that time, but I like the attempt. That was just slightly too far the other way. I'm actually going to look. So you got to the first apex at 149, and I am. Yeah, you were like 13k too quick that time. So that's why I didn't want to go through. Very brave though.
Thanks.
You just need to calibrate your driving brain about what you can actually get away with. At the moment, in most of the chicanes, you're still thinking you can't quite carry the speed that you can. Hey, nice. Got it stopped.
Better.
It was better. It was. Let's do the first couple of corners, same as before. Yeah, good. Nice one. So don't be afraid to touch the red curb on the right. Nice. And that gives you a little bit more room to get on the gas. Good.
Can't remember where I am.
Third chicane, sorry. Third chicane. Good effort. Okay, just get that steering angle off slightly earlier. Just turned right a tiny bit too long, but well done for that, for making it through. Okay, the only thing that went wrong there is we didn't quite use enough of the right-hand curb. So the speed was actually completely fine. You were just a bit too careful of the right-hand curb, and that meant we were... Yeah, we had like about a tyre and a half width. And that's what pinched you for the second one.
Have I got damage?
Damage turned off, so hopefully not. No, you're all good.
Why am I not going anywhere?
Well, you might have been stuck in the wall, but it's fixed.
Yeah.
It's all fixed now.
Stuck in the wall. That was awesome.
But good progress, though. I don't know what the Delta showed, but I've got a feeling that would have been the fastest lap so far. It felt the best.
Second up, I think.
Yeah, okay. So let's do a few more until we've definitely logged one that's, you know, comfortably quicker like that. And then we can just check the data and keep track of where we are. Tiny bit too quick, but well held. Like, you nearly made that, and I think you were 10k too fast on the entry, so well done. Yeah, a little bit too fast on the entry. That's looking so much better into there now.
And I was in fourth instead of third. I haven't quite figured out my gearing yet.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it's third for all the chicanes, except the one that goes left. Nice effort. Yeah, the chicane that goes left is second gear. The others are all third.
That was ugly.
I think you can ignore sixth gear in that sector. I don't think you need it. And that'll give you one less downshift to do. So this is the third gear right-hander.
No way.
Yeah, still a little bit too fast into that one. I'm just watching your apex speed again. You attempted it at 151k, and I do it at 132.
And I was listening to you and missed my breaking point.
Sorry. Yeah, this wasn't going to be the quickest one anyway.
No, that's for sure. No, it's definitely not your fault. I'm a little bit retarded here.
Nice. Okay, that's looking much more like you're threading it through. It's like you're getting used to the speed that you need to go right, left. was holding my breath.
Me too.
So we can still definitely slow it down less for the first chicane, but a little bit more for the third chicane. This one's looking pretty decent through there. I don't think you're going to be that far off in that one now. So this next one is slightly slower than you've been doing it on the last couple of laps. Nice. As soon as we get a 121 on the board, we'll stop and have a look at the data. Nice. Oh, lovely. Really looks like you're threading it. Really looks like you know where the car's going to go. And you're not overreacting with the steering. Let's try another one. Okay, that's a 21. But let's do one more.
Nope.
I actually think that was less ugly than the last lap there.
This is kind of a butcher lap here.
It's okay, let's just finish it anyway. Well controlled. Definitely getting more of a feel for the speed you can carry into these chicanes.
I made up a bunch of time, but it was an ugly lap.
Okay. Do you want to try one more for a less ugly one?
Sure.
So it's more representative, but you've done a lot of good stuff on these last two laps. Let's just try one more. So faster through this first chicane. That's okay, well that made the decision for us, didn't it? That's fine. So I'm going to watch that back and just see what exactly happened. I think you stayed on the brakes too long. We might have gone in a tiny bit quick. So we reached the apex at 146. What am I doing? No, I'm reaching at 146. Bad, but I've finished slowing down. I think you were still like decelerating and it made the rear go. So I think almost because you're not expecting to go through that fast, that you had like momentum oversteer from the rear because you were maybe just hanging on to the brakes, and that just made the rear come around. Anyway, that's fine. I think the two laps previously was a good one to look at. So let's take a look at that. But yeah, there's big improvements there for sure. Let's have a look. Still a bit more to come though. Still a couple of seconds, so we're going to find that. Let's look at this. Right. At least we can zone in on where the most important ones are. Yeah, so first chicane, still we've got quite a big gulf. So you know you lost a bit of time down like the second straight where we got really sideways. So that time lost there, which is about 4/10, something like that. Because actually at the apex of turn 2, you were a 10th up on me. So you were all good there. But then we lost like 4/10 by being all sideways on the exit. So without that, you're good up to the first chicane. In the first chicane though, we're just going in too slow. So just braking a bit too early, hanging on to the brakes. I think it's that kind of that trailing is what unsettles the rear a bit. If you get it slowed enough by like the early entry here, you can just come off the brakes and just let the car flow. If you're still braking and then you kind of get up on the curb and the steering angle's coming on, it just unsettles it. And I think that's what happened on that final lap. So it's kind of like late brake, but brake off in, which is a bit different to what we normally do. But that's where there's a lot of lap time. So there's half a second or so in that chicane. Yeah, okay, you're way better than you were before in chicane 2. So that's good. You're in the right direction there. I don't know what else to say apart from just keep polishing that, because
Keep-
you're much better than before. Like you can see clearly the green one is way closer than the red. Still maybe turning in a fraction early, but not as bad as before, and you're definitely coming off better. It's just going to be about how early you can really get back on the power there, on the exit. So we'll just keep working on that. But that one you're not losing a lot of time. What is it? It's like, having said that, on the Delta it is quite a lot of time. So it's 1.2. So it's like half a second. Okay, so it doesn't look like a lot, but I guess because you're in the corner for quite a long time because it's slow, you do lose a significant amount of time. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on it, but you've moved in the right direction anyway. We just need to be going quicker in the middle bit and get on the power slightly harder on the exit. But I think you have to keep doing it until it feels easy. Second chicane, if anything, we're slower than before on that lap, and you said it was messy, so you knew it. So I think if we looked at the next lap, you had quite a big swapper there, quite a big oversteer moment just here. So that's probably why. So we'll just keep working on carrying good speed through there. So your minimum was 107 and it wants to be like 130. So quite a big time lost through there. What is it? 1.8, and then it's at least half a second, maybe 6/10 through that one. So at least like the areas of time loss are quite focused in on like mid corner here, mid corner here, mid corner here. Hairpin looks way better now. Like that's a lot better. Can still brake later. We are braking 2561. So I'm braking like nearly 20 meters later. But your line is definitely more similar. You can brake later, go deeper, and then like pivot round a bit more. I think that's what I'm kind of cutting back to a later apex. You've got a slightly more mid apex there with the green one.
Yeah.
So give yourself permission to go later on the brakes and stay straighter, kind of go tiny bit deep and cut back. And I think that's one of my less exaggerated laps. I think I went slightly deeper on other laps as well. But then final chicane. Oh yeah, you're way better through the final chicane, and that did look better as well. Before you were going from 3 seconds. Yeah, you were losing a second there before, and now it's like 3/10. Okay, 6/10. 6/10. So the chicanes are roughly 6/10 each. So we can brake. So we're at 3771, let's say. Okay, so let's say another 20 meters or so, maybe slightly more. We can brake later into the last corner. So, right, as an overview then, turn 1 and 2 are good, just need to be tidier on the exit. So just don't get sideways and do this massive swerve like we did on that particular lap. So just smooth throttle application on the exit there, and it'll do wonders. First chicane, we just have to send it in with more speed, basically. More speed, little bit more curb, but don't trail the brakes in. Get it, brake later, and come off the brakes sooner, and just like be ready for the kind of bump over one curb, bump over the next curb. It will be fine. You can carry the speed. The extra downforce will just stick you to the floor. And yeah, your line on the middle part there was good. Like on the left-hander, you're using exactly the same line as me. So that's fine. We're just going to go through it quicker. That's all. Okay. The left-hander, we already spoke about. So the left-hand chicane, you can go slightly later in. So you don't go quite as deep here. That's what's going to give you an easier throttle application. And then you can just carry a bit more speed through here. Did you climb on the curb? I didn't really look at that. So let's have a quick look. So this is first chicane. Yeah, I can feel it's like slowed right down, then in. Like we at this point we want to be going quite a lot faster and clipping that red bit. So anyway, this is the one we're talking about. Yeah, we just peeled off of this slightly early. I'd stay to like about here. And then climb. Yeah, you did touch the curb, but we want to be slightly more at that angle. You know, whereas you're pushing in wide, we wanted to be on it for slightly longer, so you can then you'll be like straighter at this point. Okay, that's that. Third chicane, I think it was just more speed, wasn't it? Yeah, just get off the brakes slightly earlier and get on them slightly later. So later braking, slightly harder peak, but off the brakes kind of just before you're, well, I'm here. So mid approach, whereas you're kind of hanging on a little bit more like we would with some trail braking. Just get off the brakes. And then the hairpin, we said later brake, but straighter for a little bit longer. and then you can pivot and hook back. Final chicane, much better than before, but still we can brake like 20 meters later, harder brake, and again get off the brake sooner, so you can just send it across the curbs. What did you use in terms of curb here? Let's have a look. So this is third chicane. That's good line. Yeah, good line. We were just going too slow when it happened. And then final chicane. This is what I'm seeing. You see this peeling off of the edge from here? We're getting further away, further away, further away, and then it's like a bit more tight for you. There's a very obvious main turn now. Like, that's where you do your main turn. And I think you've just got a bit less space to play with. Maybe I peel off, but you've begun peeling before the one board there. Yeah, you're already giving yourself that gap, I reckon. I might be wrong. I reckon I stay pinned to it. It just feels like it. Every time you go in there, I'm like, ooh, we're running out of room. Let's just see. So, one board.
Yeah.
And then we're peeling off. Yeah, so it's just a little bit more space, which then just gives you that extra speed. But yeah, again, okay, so we're going in the right direction, but let's go further in that direction. And see if we can go even quicker. Let's go.
Alright.
I knew it was going to be like this. I knew it was going to be these chicanes and just like threading the needle at the highest possible speed.
Well, and unfortunately, I didn't really have time to. Normally, I'm more familiar with the track, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
already have some sense of the rhythm of the track, and then it's just listening to your corrections. Right now, I'm like, still
Yeah, you're
learning
having
the
to
track.
do more of the fundamentals as well. Yeah. I actually really like this track in this car because it feels so fast with the walls so close to you. I don't do a lot of street tracks. I know this isn't technically a street track, I guess, but it feels like it with the walls.
Not even gonna try it. Doing Alonso.
Well done for staying straighter for longer. Nice curb. Good stuff. That's definitely closer. Correct direction. Teeny bit too quick. Tiny bit, but like 5k. That was like almost the right speed that time. Yeah, that's good. So getting that feeling that going deep actually isn't a bad thing. It's not like you've missed the corner. It's actually going to give you a better exit. Nice. Slightly too long on the brakes, that was all. You got it all done, and then you stayed on the brakes past the point you needed to, but good effort, though.
That was cute.
Well, you held on. You held on. Yeah, so our first couple of corners need to be slightly tidier, that's all.
Just the first couple, huh?
Nearly there now with that one. That looked great. That was maybe
Better
like
than-
2 kilometers an hour too quick. You know, just you were having to deal with the extra speed. But definitely getting more of a feel for what you can get away with and what the car can cope with. So same as last time into this last chicane, but just get off the brakes slightly earlier. When it's turned in well, you can get off them. I think that was an extra downshift that time.
Yeah, it felt like it.
That's better. You got off the brakes sooner and then started to drive through on the power. That's better. Nicely done. Lovely.
Too much.
It's a tiny bit overslowed, or early slowed, but
Mm-hmm.
oh, so close. That
Shit.
will repair itself. We just didn't quite nail the curbs, so I think you were a bit tighter than normal. I'm just watching it back. Yeah, we missed the first curb. You were like a little bit frightened to touch the white bit, and then kept the lock on a little bit too long, and then you just ran out of room, and you had a little bit of power oversteer. It's okay though. The rest of it was looking good, so just keep going with this. I still think we can come off of this. Yeah, that was slightly too much apex curb there. It is very bouncy. I still think we can come off turn 2, the right-hander that we're about to go through in a minute, tighter than we are. I think we're still letting it run wide too early. So round this curb, like stay on the white line, longer. Now you can come off, if that makes sense. It just gives you an easier time on throttle up the hill. Right, send it into here. Just go for it. Lovely. That's my favourite corner once the tyres are warm, because it's got way more grip than it feels like at first. Well done for getting that stopped.
I went down an extra gear. I don't know why. Uh-oh.
Nearly made it.
I still don't quite know where I am all the time.
Okay. Okay, so in this final chicane, although I don't want you to jump off the top of them, don't be afraid to touch the white curbs. Like, it's not a problem if you just kiss the edge of them. Well controlled. So tighter for longer around here. Nice one.
Oh, that's a lot faster.
So we'll turn in slightly earlier there next time, but not bad. So you're coming up to the right-hand chicane, number 3.
Okay, thank you.
Nice, let's go. Yeah, nice.
Just a little too
Tiny
late.
bit too late, yeah, tiny bit too late. But don't worry, keep going.
I went harder on the brakes, but I just was a little
Yeah.
I lost a second in that corner.
Oof. Well held. So send it into here. Off the brakes, let's go. Nice. That grass on the inside doesn't really bump it too much. Well controlled. Oh, you very nearly made that. Oh, that was so close. I think we just keep going like this, you're going to get a really nice lap in a moment. Like, all the ingredients are there. Just make sure turn 2 we stay really nice and slow and tight to the inside. Don't be afraid of those white curbs because you like avoided them quite severely that time.
Okay. Nope.
A little bit more of a brake there to get it turned right. Just before you go in the right, another touch of the brake. Definitely getting braver with that chicane. Nicely done.
Too much.
Only a little bit though. Like a couple of meters. Okay, so again, don't smash the white curbs, but don't be afraid to skim them. Oh, that was living on the edge. So remember the second brake here to get it stopped. That's it. You sacrifice a tiny bit of entry speed, but you tend to gain quite a lot of exit.
Deep.
Yeah, I was like, when's the break happening for this one? It's okay. That's okay. Let's finish this lap and maybe do one more flyer.
Okay.
You've definitely got an improved one in there. You know, a couple of better ones. That 20.6 is good. But if there's any like slight improvement there somewhere on one of these next ones, then we'll take that. But if not, we've still got a 20.6 to go with. You're definitely getting like more in tune with what this car can do if you guide it through at just the right speed in these narrow chicanes. But you have to give it there's not a lot of space, so you have to give it the most space you can give it. And that means getting right up to the white curbs.
That wasn't very pretty.
It was a little bit sharp with the turn right. It was just a little bit fast with the steering. That's nice. Let's go. Yeah, nice.
deep again. But
I nearly said to you, don't brake crazy late for this one, but I didn't want to make you brake early. Do another one. Just do one more. If the next one doesn't work, then we'll call it. But let's do another one anyway. Nice. That's lovely. Look how flat it cornered it. It wasn't like... It just seemed stable all the way through there. Because you had that extra bit of downforce from the speed. Nice. Okay, don't brake crazy late for the next one. Nicely judged. That was probably the perfect braking point. Just made it. Tiny bit too fast, but you made it. Yeah, had that little extra downshift.
yeah.
Okay, quickest lap, that'll do. And I think you lost a little bit in the final chicane there as well. Right, let's take a look at that. Well done for, like, aborting your incorrect downshift number and going back up. Right, let's grab that data. It's good, finishing off with the fastest one. Right. Okay, so let's bin off this first one because it's way slower. And let's make this one a bit brighter. Okay, so fastest one, which is over a second quicker than you went on the previous run, is the pink one. Okay, so let's have a look. So you're downshifting at basically the same time as me into turn one. Okay, there's a little bit of time to be had from just like carrying more speed into turn one. We're quite different in this area here. So you and I are still, you're still going quite a bit quicker in that bit just there, but I'm quicker on the turn into the first corner. So maybe there's like a connection there. I'm still doing a bigger brake deliberately there to keep it tight. So for sure you're still, even on your best lap there, we're still running wide at that point there. So I think there is some lap time in just like hugging that inside longer, but
Okay.
but you know, you're not a million miles away. What are we? So 3/10 by here we've lost. On your previous one when you were quicker into turn one, it was like less than 1/10. So I think you can do that quicker than you did it on that last lap. So that 20.4, already there's a few tenths. That's like a 20.1 if you do that the same as you did it on your best lap. Now let's look at the chicane. Hey, look at chicane number one. That's more like it. That's more like it. Okay, so you can still brake later if you brake harder, because you braked quite early. So the speed came off early, but the mid-corner now is there. So it's just now going to be about braking later and still doing that same mid-corner. But that's a lot better. Like, you are going 30k quicker than you were on the previous run. So I'm going to take that as a win. Before you lost like 6, 7 tenths there, and now it's like 1 or 2. So that's good. Right, second chicane. Okay, you're coming off the second chicane way better now. Way, way better. And you're not using 6th gear on the approach anymore, so well done. Line, now maybe a fraction too tight, but you've just slowed it down a little bit more. I think that's because on other laps we've gone in a bit deep, haven't we? So
Yeah.
you're probably just a bit cautious on that last lap because it was going relatively well by that point because of this good first chicane. But that's good, though. You're doing the right thing. You've got in the right direction. Good. We'll make notes on this in a minute. Third chicane. Yes. Okay. Much, much better. Slightly too fast on the way through. Like, well, I said slightly. 7k quicker than I was doing. And that's why you went deep. But you survived. Like, just. But look how it tried to kill you here. Like, you nearly ran out of room. But obviously you lost a lot of time on the exit because of that. So the braking point is nearly there. You can brake slightly harder peak. Just this final approach to the apex there, that bit there, just slightly more under control by 7k if you can, and then you won't have that wide exit. But you know, now you're being brave, just maybe slightly too brave. But you've gotten a feel for even that. Even going in too fast, you controlled it and hung on, and it was your best lap. So that's good. Hairpin's now looking quite sweet. There's still later braking though. You can still brake later. So mid-corner is like bang on.
Is my pressure still not high enough? Huh?
Yeah, I'm at like 99%. Somehow I judged that. I'm impressed with that. And your peak was 84.
I need to stiffen my brake a little bit because it gets a little squishy at the end and I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, but having said all that, look, you're not really losing much, if anything, to me. So you're 1.2 down there, 1.2 down there. So although we're quite different into the hairpin, I wouldn't worry about that because that's a corner where it's like a fraction of a tenth, really, isn't it? It's, if we said you're 1.216, 1.223, we're talking thousandths, really. So don't worry too much. What you're doing is working. I'm not actually turning very much, and then I'm turning left. I had quite a swapper of oversteer right there, whereas you just keep turning right. So the hairpin's fine, and it looks fine from back here, actually. Final chicane, actually, you went through slower than normal, and we knew it, because you went down an extra gear. Yeah, that you momentarily went down to second. So you were, like, mentally expecting it to be slower than it was, and we still braked quite early, like 20 metres or something like that too early, so we can go later on the brakes, don't go down to second gear, and you'll be fine. Because we're still, in that final chicane, losing 8 tenths of a second on that lap. So there's a lot of time. For a very, very short right-left corner, that's a lot of lap time to lose. Like, huge. So that's a very, very big win if you can just fix that. So entry to turn 1, you can just carry slightly more speed, and obviously then stay tighter. First chicane, looking good. Tiny bit later on the brakes, but it's looking good. Second chicane, you're quite a lot better now, but just not quite as cautious as you did on the final lap because you were trying to be careful. Slightly more careful on the approach to the apex on chicane 3 because you don't want to go deep. But
I'm a little bit back and forth on it.
Yeah. You're just like, you're trying to find the right balance. Hairpin is pretty good. Final chicane, losing 8 tenths. So just don't brake as early. Send it through even quicker than you did. Let's just watch the final chicane actually on that lap. Do you ever get a craving for like a particular kind of food? Maybe it's because we're in Montreal and it's French, but I just got a craving for a croissant then. I want an all-butter croissant.
There you go.
It's time for a snack. Right, so let's see. Yeah, I mean, you're close to the curb, but we're just going really slow because you overslowed it. And that's like perfect on that bit. But we just need to do that exact thing, but at a way higher speed. So where are we braking? We're already on the brakes there.
I think it's at 2.5.
I can already hear it's like now. Yeah, the brakes are on like now, but the revs have already started dropping. So when I can see the 2 board here quite clearly. Now we can actually see on the brake thingy. Yeah, so this is there. So it's like past the 2 board.
So you're
Oh, actually, look, I've begun here, but the revs drop there. And that's where they really come down. And on the data, it looks like there versus there. So
so
if
you're
these
basically at the 2 board, and I'm before the 2
yeah,
board.
exactly. 3774, 3800. Yeah. So you've got 25 meters, which happens in a flash at that speed, but
Yeah.
there is more potential there. But it needs
Okay.
to be, instead of the peak and then bleeding straight off, it needs to be a slightly more sustained high pressure. You see how mine's like
Yeah.
later, but I'm like bam, tiny bit of a bleed and then a big bleed. Whereas you're like on straight off, like a kind of normal single seater brake.
Yeah, I have to relearn that whenever you say, okay, this is a corner, you need to hold your brake
Yeah.
pressure.
It's because it's like to brake late, you're having to brake straight, but that means you can hold the pressure on and then bleed off. Because it's a very short corner, you can't trail as much, and you know your technique there would be great if it was like more of a kind of open corner, that sort of. But yeah, there we go. Right, I didn't make any notes, so I should have written them down. Okay, let's just do this quickly. So
Okay.
T1, slightly more entry speed,
Fine.
but still get it stopped for T2 and stay even tighter than we normally do. And you can see that obviously both on the line but also on that extra bit of brake that I'm doing just there. So I'm more of a stab. We're gonna write that. Stab of brakes just before you turn right. Just to make it stay tight there. Because that little time lost there will be paid back to you with this early throttle here. Okay, first chicane.
The one time I did it correctly, and I only did it really once correctly,
Yep.
my delta was flying.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember you saying that, so that's good. Okay, so at least you've got that kind of visual evidence. Just brake later. There we go. Second chicane. All looks good. Oh, good. Except on this lap, you built in a little extra caution. So just a tiny bit less slowing on the approach.
Idiot.
This one, almost judging entry speed correct. Oh, my stupid entry speed correctly now. But approach to the apex was about 7k too fast, so just tidy that up.
It's
Fast
just gonna
without going
take
deep.
some time to figure out the speed and not knowing
yeah,
the
look,
track. I
so-
don't really have a perfect sense of.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
this
and
is
I
the
can tell that. I can tell that. So with more practice, you're gonna, and even just like having a break from it now, you've done a bunch of laps in this session. It'll start to percolate. This trail break, I'm not going to tell you off for because you had to do that because you'd gone in too fast. You were like, okay, this is oh shit. It's like the extra little bit just to stop you going off, and it was good that you did it because you saved it. Hairpin, I'll just give you a green. Different to me, but basically identical outcome. So that's
well,
fine.
so I've got one corner.
Final corner. This can still be much faster. Brake 20 meters later after the 2 board, and don't shift to second.
Idiot.
I'm not going to write idiot, but that's it. It's like seven things, actually 6 things, because that one isn't a thing. So it's only 6 things to like tweak, and then you'll find a chunk of time. Like I said, you know, it's not far off a second of that time you're looking for is in the final corner alone. So, and then you've got staying tighter in turn 2, you know, a little bit of more of an accurate chicane 2. What did we lose there? So chicane number 3 actually, 8/10, even that's like 3, maybe 4 tenths just there. So there's still big chunks that will come when it clicks and you've got the speed calibrated correctly. You'll be there. So yeah, good job. That was fun because that's like a hard and quite a different track to what we normally do.
Yeah.
And I just stopped the recording there.